Iran's rebellious youth respond to the regime's repressive measures. In fear of an increasingly restive society and the growing traction of the Iranian resistance, Iran's regime has been resorting to an unprecedented wave of repressive measures. But the people of Iran have shown their determination to overthrow this regime through their actions against the regime's centers of repression and fundamentalism. Rebellious youth have been targeting regime monuments, banners, and centers of repression across Iran. These activities are especially focused on IRGC and Basij bases. The Basij is the paramilitary arm of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, which is tasked with the repression of anti-regime protests. The regime has set up Basij bases in neighborhoods to spy on residents, identify dissidents, and crack down on demonstrations. The rebellious youth targeted dozens of Basij bases. In many cities, the youth targeted several Basij buildings by setting fire to the entrance signs and throwing Molotov cocktails at the buildings. They also set fire to the entrance signs of the headquarters of state security forces, one of the main repressive forces involved in the crackdown on popular protests. One of the key targets of these activities was an attack on the IRGC Aerospace Command headquarters in Tehran. The Aerospace Command is one of 4 main IRGC forces and one of the main forces involved in spreading war and terrorism in the region. It is tasked with manufacturing drones and rockets. The IRGC Aerospace has been supplying the Quds force with destructive weapons. It is also supplying the regime's proxy forces in the region to spread war and mayhem. The rebellious youth also torched posters and banners of regime leaders and icons such as regime founder Ruhollah Khomeini, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, and the regime's terror mastermind Qasem Soleimani. Also targeted were the regime's centers of fundamentalism, torture, and plunder, which have been tasked with looting the people's wealth and handing out death sentences to the impoverished people of Iran. These activities are taking place despite the regime's extensive efforts to suppress any form of protest and dissent. Prominent among the regime's measures is the sudden spike in executions, with at least 850 executions in 2023, including women, children under 18 years old, and over 20 political prisoners. This is happening while the Iranian judiciary has increased the implementation of death sentences by 45% in just 1 year. The regime has particularly ratcheted up the execution of political prisoners, especially protesters arrested during the 2019 and 2022 uprisings. The regime has also increased the implementation of death sentences against Baloch, Kurd, and Arab prisoners. At the same time, the regime has been increasing its repressive measures against the relatives and supporters of the People's Mojahedin Organization of Iran, PMOI, or MEK, in order to prevent Iran's youths from joining Iran's main opposition in its struggle to overthrow the regime. In addition to the execution of PMOI supporters, the regime has been handing out heavy prison sentences to relatives and supporters of PMOI. And to further cause terror in the public, the regime has set up a show trial against 104 PMOI members to set the stage for further executions and acts of terror against the Iranian Resistance and its supporters. But as the actions of the rebellious youth show, no amount of repressive measures will dissuade the people of Iran from their goal to overthrow the regime and establish a democratic republic.
Follow the People's Mujahedin Organization of Iran on YouTube, Facebook, X, and our website.